A single dad knocked on his neighbor's door for help with a date. What she said next broke his walls and rebuilt his heart. Before we dive into this incredible story, don't forget to subscribe and hit the bell icon so you never miss our powerful, life-changing content. Single dad asked his neighbor to help with a date. What she said changed everything. I never imagined that one simple knock on a neighbor's door could change the direction of my life. I was a single dad, learning every day how to be both mother and father to my little daughter, Anya. Her mother passed away 3 years ago, and since then, our small apartment had been filled with love, silence, toys, and unanswered questions. I worked long hours, cooked clumsy dinners, braided hair with YouTube tutorials, and whispered bedtime stories while hiding my exhaustion. Life was heavy, but my daughter's smile made it worth carrying. One evening, my office announced a formal dinner. Employees were allowed to bring a guest. It was the first time in years I even thought about the word date. Not because I didn't want love, but because I didn't know how to fit it into a life already overflowing with responsibility. My biggest problem wasn't fear. It was childcare. I stood in my kitchen, holding my phone, scrolling through contacts, realizing how alone I had become. That's when I thought of my neighbor, Sarah. She lived next door, quiet but kind, always smiling at Anya in the hallway. She once helped me carry groceries when my daughter fell asleep in my arms. My heart pounded as I walked to her door. I felt silly, nervous, and strangely hopeful. When she opened the door, I blurted everything out. I told her about the dinner. I told her I was a single dad. I told her I didn't usually ask for help. Then I asked if she could watch my daughter for just a few hours. She didn't answer immediately. She looked past me, toward my apartment, where Anya's laughter echoed faintly. Then she smiled softly, and that's when she said something that shocked me. "I'd love to help," she said, "but only if you stop thinking you have to do everything alone." Her words hit me harder than grief ever had. No one had ever said that to me before. I felt seen. I felt understood. That night, Sarah didn't just babysit. She listened to my daughter's stories. She warmed her dinner. She sat beside her until she fell asleep. When I came back from the dinner, I didn't feel guilty. I felt lighter. Over the following weeks, Sarah became part of our daily life. Not by force, not by obligation, but by kindness. She helped with homework. She shared tea with me after long days. She laughed with Anya like she had always belonged there. One evening, as we sat quietly watching my daughter draw, Sarah spoke again. "You know," she said gently, "love doesn't replace loss. It grows around it." In that moment, I realized I wasn't betraying the past by moving forward. I was honoring it by choosing life again. Months later, Sarah and I didn't need labels. We were a family in the making, built on patience, built on understanding, built on shared pain and shared healing. Anya calls her home, and I call her hope. Moral: sometimes, strength isn't doing everything alone. Sometimes, strength is allowing kindness to enter your life and change everything. And yet, life didn't suddenly become easy just because hope had walked in. Healing is not a straight road. It curves. It stumbles. It asks questions when you think you already know the answers. One afternoon, while Sarah and Anya baked cookies together, I stood in the doorway watching them. Flour covered the table. Chocolate was everywhere except the bowl. My daughter laughed the kind of laugh that comes from safety. And suddenly, fear crept into my chest. What if this didn't last? What if I let her get too close and lost again? That night, after Anya fell asleep, I finally spoke the thoughts I had been hiding. I told Sarah I was scared. I told her I didn't want my daughter to get attached only to feel another goodbye. My voice shook. My hands trembled. She didn't interrupt me. She just listened. Then she placed her hand over mine and said quietly, "I'm not here to replace anyone. I'm here to stay, if you'll let me." Those words didn't erase my fear, but they softened it. Days turned into weeks. Weeks turned into moments that felt like memories while they were still happening. School meetings where Sarah sat beside me. Cold mornings when she wrapped Anya's scarf tighter than I ever did. Late nights when I fell asleep on the couch and woke up to a blanket gently placed over my shoulders. Still, life tested us. One evening, Anya asked a question that froze the room. Will Sarah leave like Mama did? My heart shattered quietly. I didn't know how to answer. Sarah knelt in front of her, eye to eye, and spoke with honesty, not promises. I can't promise the future, she said softly, but I can promise today, and tomorrow I'll promise again. I watched my daughter nod slowly, understanding more than any child should. That night, I realized love isn't loud. It doesn't rush in with grand declarations. It shows up again and again and again. But even then, something inside me was still unfinished. A part of my heart was holding on to guilt, to the idea that choosing happiness meant forgetting the woman I once loved. And I didn't yet know how to make peace with that truth. That guilt followed me quietly, like a shadow that appeared only when the light was strongest. One morning, while cleaning old boxes from cupboard, I found a scarf. My late wife's scarf. It still carried a faint memory of her perfume. My hands froze. So many emotions rushed in at once that I had to sit on the floor. Love, lust, loyalty, fear. Sarah noticed my silence that day. She always did. In the evening, when Anya was asleep, I showed her the scarf. I expected discomfort, maybe jealousy, maybe distance. Instead, she held it gently, like it was something sacred. She must have loved you deeply, Sarah said. And Anya, I replied. Sarah nodded. Then she's still part of this family, she said calmly. Love doesn't disappear just because new love arrives. Her words untied a knot inside my chest that I didn't know how to loosen myself. For the first time, I allowed myself to talk about my wife openly. The way she laughed at bad jokes. The way she sang while cooking. The way she believed I was stronger than I ever felt. Sarah listened without trying to replace those memories. She didn't compete with the past. She respected it. That respect made my heart trust her even more. But life, as always, had another test waiting. One afternoon, Sarah told me she had been offered a job, a better one, in another city. My stomach dropped. I smiled for her because I wanted to be proud. But inside, I felt that familiar fear rising again. Distance, change, loss. She said she hadn't decided yet. She wanted to talk about it. That night, I barely slept. I kept thinking about Anya's growing attachment, about the laughter in our kitchen, about the quiet peace we had built together, piece by piece. In the morning, Anya sensed something was wrong. Children always do. Are you sad, Papa? She asked, hugging my leg. I knelt down and held her tightly. I'm just thinking, I said. About what? About how much people matter, I replied. Later that day, Sarah and I sat on the balcony as the sun dipped low. The city hummed beneath us. She spoke first. I won't go if it breaks what we're building, she said honestly. And that was when I realized something important. Love isn't about holding someone back. It's about standing beside them, even when the future feels uncertain. But I still didn't know what choice would be right. Not for me, not for her, and especially not for my daughter. So I took a deep breath, and for the first time since becoming a single father, I allowed myself to believe that whatever came next, we would face it, not alone. That evening, I finally understood what my heart had been trying to teach me all along. I invited Sarah and Anya to sit with me at the small dining table where so many quiet moments had already become memories. I didn't prepare a speech. I spoke from truth. I told Sarah that her dreams mattered, that love should never feel like a cage, that if she chose a job, we would find a way, and if she chose us, it would be because her heart wanted to stay, not because fear asked her to. Sarah's eyes filled with tears. She reached for Anya's hand first, then for mine. I don't need a new city, she said softly. I need a life that feels like home. Weeks later, she declined the offer, not as a sacrifice, as a choice. Slowly, gently, we built something real. There was no rush, no replacement, no forgetting. We honored the past, lived in the present, and trusted the future. One morning, I watched Anya walk to school between us, her small hands held safely in both of ours. And I realized happiness doesn't arrive loudly. It comes quietly, when hearts choose understanding over fear. I was no longer a man carrying everything alone. I was a father who learned how to accept help. A man who learned that love grows when it is shared. Moral. Life becomes lighter when we allow kindness in. Healing begins when we stop carrying our pain alone and choose to walk forward together. Thank you for listening to this heartfelt story. If it touched your heart, please share it, leave a comment below, and remind someone you are never alone.